the African Utility Week studio. Today I'm speaking with Seydou, Kane, who is the Managing Director for the Africa region at Eaton. Welcome, Seydou.
Thank you, Nicolette. Thank you for having me.
We're going to be talking about mini-grids and microgrids and the renewable energy sector. But I'd like to start off with a quick explanation about what is the difference between off-grid and mini-grid.
Right. So off-grid are basically systems that are that can run independently from the grid. So as the terminology expresses it, those are isolated, completely isolated systems. And generally, when we're talking about off-grid systems, we're talking about fairly small systems. When we're talking about mini-grid, we're talking about systems that are more versatile. From a size perspective, we're talking about systems from 10 kilowatts up till 500 kilowatts, right? So typically, this is the type of size when we talk about mini grids, and those mini grids have several sources of energy. So, for instance, you could have the grid, you could have solar, so PV, you could have a genset, and the combination of it forms a mini grid.
Right, and this is something that is being developed quite extensively in the African region. So at this point, there must be some success stories that we can talk about. What made them successful?
You have quite a number of success stories, but if you allow me, the importance in the Africa context of mini-grid and off-grid is that it's going to be a way to get electricity as quick and in a most efficient way to the 600 million Africans that do not have today access to energy. There was a recent report from the Africa Progress Panel from Mr. Kofi Annan that identified off-grid and mini-grid systems as the best way to basically bridge the energy poverty in Africa. So in terms of success stories, you have multiples, and really mini-grids and off-grid solutions are multiplying very fast across the continent.
Right, and this has been an opportunity for entrepreneurs, local entrepreneurs, to get into the picture around renewable energy. What sort of solutions have you come across?
Well, in the renewable energy space, and particularly talking about off-grid, one example that comes that comes to my mind is M-Kopa. The model in Kenya. So that allows basically renewable, so photovoltaic, PV. And with innovative metering systems and allowing very poor people to have access to energy. Now, when we put renewable in the mix, a lot of time the intermittency of renewable is one element that is a drawback. And there are some new technology as storage, for instance, that can help really bridge that gap.
And I know that when we talk about renewable energy, the debate against this particular solution has always been around the capacity to store that energy. What is your response to that debate?
Well, I believe that things are changing very fast. So as I alluded to storage before, we, for instance, at Eaton, we have a partnership, a global partnership with Nissan, the car manufacturer. And the innovative approach to this partnership is the following. We reuse we take the used batteries from the vehicle, from the electrical cars, and use them to build storage systems, right? And those storage systems are extremely efficient, and they solve in a big part the issue of intermittency from the renewable source. Example, solar. While the sun is shining, you have electricity. What happens when you have a cloud, or what happens at night? So with storage, we have this continuity that we can provide in terms of access to electricity from renewable source.
So this brings me to the question around research and development and innovation in this sector. What do you predict for the next, say, 5 years around off-grid and mini-grid solutions?
Number one, I think they're going to multiply. We're going to have much more of them. I think the multilateral organization, the financing communities, but also the utilities in Africa, understand that those type of solutions are going to be part of the energy mix. The second element is around specific technologies. We talked about storage, and we firmly believe that storage is a viable solution to bridge the energy poverty in Africa, right? So the combination of those, the resurgence of some hybrid models, are going to create really a new ecosystem, around those type of energies and those type of technologies to drive more access and more rapid access, because the time element is important, more rapid access to energy in Africa.
Yeah, that's a very good prediction to be making.
I think we need to be positive. And if I may add a last point, often than not, when people talk about storage, people talk about the cost of storage.
Yes.
And what we have observed, and a lot of studies corroborate this, the trends that storage is following is the same trend that solar photovoltaic has followed, PV has followed. So basically in the last 10 years, we saw the storage cost decrease by more than 90%, 90. And we believe that this trend is going to continue. So I think the current state is going to be very different from what we'll see in the future, and we're going to see much more competitive, options using storage with the renewable energy.
I look forward to actually experiencing that.
Same here.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you for watching. I'm Nicolette Pomper van Zyl, editor of ESI Africa, coming to you from the African Utility Week studio.